Let's talk about the Facebook thing, because I think maybe I'm upset for no good reason. It turns out Facebook participated in a study, an interesting study, about how what you see on social media affects your feelings. And it turns out that I think it was January 2011, for 1 week, Facebook intentionally manipulated the news feeds for 700,000 users. They gave half of them happy stories, half of them sad stories, and then a week later monitored their posts to see if they were happier or sadder. And surprise, surprise, people who saw depressing, sad stories were more depressed. And people who saw happy-go-lucky stories were happier. First of all, what a waste of time. That's obvious, but okay. This was, by the way, Cornell was involved in this. I think California University involved in this study. Experimental evidence of massive scale emotional contagion through social networks, published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of the Sciences of the USA. But Princeton University was a woman who edited it from Princeton even said the creepy factor was off the scale here. Is it normally in research, when you do this kind of research, you get the consent of the subject. You may not say what you're going to do, but you say, we're going to do a research study. Just want to make sure it's okay with you.
And when you don't, you have to get consent from a review board. And this study did, which...
Yeah, but you know what the review board was? It was Facebook's own review board.
It was a local institutional review board.
Oh, so it wasn't Facebook?
I don't think it was Facebook. I think they went through the proper social science channels. You have to.
Don't you feel like this is incredibly invasive and
yes,
and messed up? I want to use a stronger word, but I'll use the messed word. Messed up.
Yes, because how much different is this than the Stanley Milgram experiment, which was
messed up. Yeah,
that was the impetus of review boards. That's why we have them, is because when you manipulate someone's psyche to think the world is one way that it is not, it has lasting effects on them, even if it's something as stupid as your news feed.
This is, as the researchers pointed out, part of Facebook's terms of service.
Yeah. And that's what I was going to say. Don't anybody think that it's illegal.
It's not illegal.
I'm sure they covered themselves on that front.
This is what Facebook said.
Ethics and legality are two different things.
Yes, unethical, maybe. Legal, absolutely. When users sign up for Facebook, they agree their information may be used for, quote, internal operations, including, I hope you read this carefully, troubleshooting, data analysis, testing, research, and service improvement. Now, of course, the other point to be made is that Facebook is constantly manipulating the newsfeed in ways that we don't know. Who knows what the hell they're up to? This makes me want to quit Facebook so bad.
And they did this 2 years ago, which is also disconcerting to me. And there was a statement posted just about an hour ago from one of the data engineers from Facebook kind of explaining things a little bit better and apologizing and saying that they wish that they had been a little bit more communicative and transparent for the reasoning. But he said, we've learned a lot and grown a lot in the past 2 years, so we're better at this now. But still, there has been 2 years of this sort of activity, and I'm wondering what other studies are still in the pipeline and haven't even been published yet. But I do agree that I think that they were not acting ethically here, but to play devil's advocate, how is this different than a website using an A/B test to decide which headline they should run for a given story? I'll throw that out there.
Well, I can tell you one thing. Facebook got sued over Beacon. They're going to get sued over this.
Good. I hope they do.
I think they will. I mean, Professor James Grimmelman, who is far more knowledgeable about this sort of thing than I would ever pretend to be, has said, if you're exposing people to something that causes changes in psychological status, that's experimentation and requires informed consent. Should anyway. So, I mean, he's just kind of spitballing as a law professor, but if he's spitballing as a law professor, there are plaintiffs' lawyers out there who are putting it in pleadings and probably thinking about filing.
As a class
does that
action?
Because you wouldn't know if you were part of the 700,000, right? How would you know that?
Right.
If you're
I just
not,
was
though,
really
you're in the
sad.
control.
January 2011, I was so sad for a week.
And all of my, I don't know. You'd have to go through and say, assuming you'd even have a record of what was
I just
shown
think
to
this
you on Facebook then.
is the only takeaway on this is a little peek under the curtain at how Facebook runs its business, how they are ethically, how they feel about you as a Facebook user, and just, understand we've learned something here. I don't know. I always feel bad when I visit Facebook. I just feel crappy afterwards. I feel like I should take a shower.
Do people think that A/B testing is a psychological experiment too? Because ultimately you're trying to influence someone's psyche to get them to click, and you're using different headlines to basically influence their decision.
It's no different than you go to a restaurant and the chef says, do you like this or this? Is where the eye doctor says A or B. It's just you giving somebody a choice, and the choice isn't explicitly requested or explicitly given, but you just see, well, do people like this site or that site? That does not feel as manipulative as somebody modifying the news feed to try to make me happy or sad. That seems really messed up.
And these researchers had to go to Facebook and say, our hypothesis is that
it will.
The emotional content of your Facebook feed will affect your emotional content, your emotional response. So we intend to manipulate this in order to elicit emotional responses from your participants. And that is very different than just seeing what color looks best on your banner. Wouldn't you say?
I don't know. I mean, isn't that the same thing as an editor going to another editor saying, I believe that if we change the headline to be this structure, that we'll get more people to click on it. So therefore, let's run both using some optimizing software with A/B testing capabilities, and we'll see which one is more effective. And therefore, they're going to learn which is more effective. Again, I'm playing devil's advocate here, but
effective is a different thing, because these authors have specified to Facebook that we would like to emotionally manipulate your users. And they said, yes, it's not a matter of which ones, get the most clickbait, which I agree does happen. But once Facebook
but you're physically motivating a user if they have to take the mouse and click on it.
Then they should have said no.
Well, the good news is fewer than 0.1% of 1% of the users committed suicide, so it's okay. No, I don't know, but that's a legitimate question. What if somebody got so depressed they harmed themselves because of this stupid study? Then what's the liability?
And there's one other thing out of this is that I'm not sure that they actually proved anything, because if indeed you're seeing sad news, you might say, oh, I'm really sorry to hear about that. And then ultimately you are contributing to their research, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you're actually any sadder yourself.
Right. Yeah, it's dumb. The whole thing is dumb. And by the way, you mentioned, Natalie, I did quit Facebook once. I wish I weren't on Facebook, but I feel like I have to use it so I can report on stories like this. Yeah, I need to have an experience. So I'm taking the hit for you.
How did this come to light?
He's taking it for the team.
I'm taking one for the team. I don't want to use Facebook.
He's taking a profile for the team.
You know what I did give up, though? And I'm very proud of myself. That stupid Simpsons tapped out.
It's taken a while.
It was, I was really hooked on it for a while, and then Electronic Arts crashed it. And I was actually relieved. For 6 months, I couldn't use it. Then all of a sudden, Lisa said, oh, your tapped out seems to be back. And I went, no, they keep pulling me in. And for the last month, it's been about a month, I've been doing it, and I realized that it's like an hour a day I'm farming and tapping. So I'm very proud of myself. I just deleted, and Lisa did too. We deleted our Simpsons tapped out because Farmville 2 is coming, and I really want to have room on the iPad. No, just kidding.
Did someone out Facebook, or did they out themselves on this research thing?
The paper was published.
There we go.
Somebody started reading this and what? You did what? Now all of the, I think there will be more. We will hear more about this.
People need to vote with their feet if they don't want to be
I want to vote with my feet. I want to quit Facebook. I think this is ridiculous.
Funny notice came up on my Facebook feed last night. It were an apology for conducting this experiment without people's consent. It was quite scary, actually. Apparently they carried out this psychological experiment and changed stories in people's news feeds so that some people were being shown a higher number of positive posts and other people were being shown a higher number of negative posts to see if it affected their behaviour. And it worked. I read that people's moods changed depending on what information they read. And the crazy thing is they did this to nearly 690,000 people. That's almost 2/3 of the population of Birmingham. And they did all of this without anybody's permission. And I guess people didn't like it because they had to issue that apology. But it's still mad to think that they could change the behaviour of people. That's a lot of power to have. I just don't know what to think of it.